Hey, welcome back, worship teams. Great to see you. I'm Branon Dempsey of worshipteamtraining.com. How are you today? Hope you guys are doing great. Welcome to the morning show. So glad that you're here. You made it this Tuesday morning already. Can you guys believe that? I can't believe it. Tuesday morning, man. Great folks coming in right now on both Periscope and Facebook Live as we're dual broadcasting right now. Our shout out and friends to all of our churches, worship teams, great people over in the UK, Matt Lockwood being one of them. Thanks so much, Matt. People coming in, Sheila, Angel, Ted, over there on Periscope coming in. Hey, how are you? Facebook Live, how are you? Fantastic folks coming in. Man, thanks so much for joining us today. I'm Branon Dempsey of worshipteamtraining.com, and we are here to bring you some good news and good encouragement for you and your worship teams. I'm so glad that you came. Thanks so much for coming in. If you're watching us by Periscope, this is a great time for you to go ahead and slide over. If you're on Apple device, swipe up and down on Droid and share this out with all your friends on Periscope and on Twitter. If you're watching us on Facebook Live, go ahead and hit the like button. Make sure that you're liking Worship Team Training on Facebook, and then please hit the... I know, I miss you too, Sheila. If you're watching us by Facebook, please hit the share button and share this out with all your friends and let everybody else know what is happening today. So glad that you guys are here. Let's get on with it, shall we? We got a lot to cover. There's a lot jam-packed today, and a lot of you worship leaders coming in. Thanks so much. Upon our first broadcast here at Facebook Live, we were hitting like over 5,000 of you per day. So thank you so much for you guys coming in. We got about 1,700 followers here on Periscope. Scott, I miss you. Sheila, I miss you. You guys are fantastic. So if you are brand new to the broadcast today, we say welcome. And if you would, please type in the comment box and let everybody know, let us know the city or country of where you're from. All you need to do is type in new in all caps and the city or country of where you're from, so we always know who we are sharing with, hanging out with. It's a lot of fun. And if you're already family, then type in fam as in F-A-M as in family. So you're always welcome. Even if you watch one replay, hey, you're family. So glad you guys are here. Fantastic folks come in. John and Scott on Periscope, Brandy, Moana, a lot of great people coming in. Facebook Live, what's up with you? Hope that you guys are having a great morning. And as always, if you like what you hear today, tap on the worship leader glasses or the worship leader hair and let us know. Just send out the likes on Facebook, send out the hearts on Periscope. Thanks so much for that. And we joke about worship leader hair because all we're doing today is just providing you to interact with us. So we do this. We invite you to comment in today's conversation and discussion. You got something to say, an idea, a question, a topic even? If you would, please let us know what's up. Well, let us know what's going on. All right, so a big word from Periscope saying Skip will not let you share Twitter. Man, okay, so Periscope's having a few difficulties. So if you're watching Periscope right now, if you find it easier, just jump over on Facebook Live because Facebook Live is much clearer and we have lesser problems. That's why we're dual broadcasting right now. So that's what's happening. Anyway, welcome you guys back for the replay if you're watching us by YouTube, whatever. Again, who am I? My name is Branon Dempsey, and I'm the CEO and founder of worshipteamtraining.com. And we do exactly what we say. We go to you, your church, your ministry, your places of worship where your worship teams are, and we train a 1 or 2 day event just for your entire worship team and church. And also we provide one-to-one mentoring that's working with you as a worship leader, pastor, musician, singer, audio tech. All you got to do is go to worshipteamtraining.com and go to /mentoring, and you will find all of the information we have for mentoring. If you go to /workshops on our workshop page, you'll see our workshops there. So we put out quality content every day to help resource your team because this is what it's all about. It's about teamwork, right? It's not a solo. It's not a guitar solo. It's about the work of the ministry. For what? The gospel. So for who? For the Lord Jesus. For what? For people to come to Christ. That's what it's all about. So we're glad you guys are here. Let's get on with today's program. Today we're talking about bring your best for Him, letting God do the rest. That's today's topic. And also, just to let you know, on today's topic, we're refining that title called to Don't Rehearse Mistakes. That is really the upshot of today's topic. Now, real quick, some of you may be asking, how do I get this Band-Aid? You don't want to know. So, unlike Jimmy Fallon, not clumsy, but man, I did something that I wasn't supposed to do. Touch a very steamy, spiky cup of coffee, and it hurt. But, hey, as always, sometimes the pleasure is worth the pain. Moving on, we're talking about don't rehearse mistakes. Now, also, if you want to follow today's article and what I'm speaking on, all you need to do is go to worshipteamtraining.com, go down to the bottom of our blog feed, and click on Don't Rehearse Mistakes. That is today's topic. You can read everything for yourself and follow along. Also, when do we broadcast? We broadcast Monday through Friday. That's weekdays at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time, just like you're watching right now. So thank you for sharing this out. A lot of great friends coming on. Oscar, our translator in Veracruz, Mexico. Oscar does all of our translations for our Bible devotionals that we have on Bible.com. If you haven't checked it out, go to Bible.com and download YouVersion. We have over 25,000 completions on our first. And we have 3 other plans. We have a new one that's unveiling right now, coming up, I think, this week or next week. So it's fantastic, but thank you guys for joining us there. So as we get on with today's topic, hey, if you want to find out all of the other stuff, so yeah, big shout out to Oscar. Thank you so much. If you want to learn and get all the good stuff, you can find all of our links on Twitter, and follow us on Twitter while you're there. At WorshipTT, that's our address. You'll find all the good stuff. Plus today on Snapchat, you will find us, the link there as well. If you go back through the feeds, look, all you need to do is download Snapchat at your app store. That's Apple or Droid. And you will get more content that we don't show you on the broadcast. We'll show you tips and tricks and other things about worship leadership, worship itself, thoughts for the day, also some funny stuff, whatever it may be. We put that all on Snapchat. We create a daily feed so you can watch the whole day as you're joining us here on video as well and looking at our posts and blogs. Thank you for that. So you guys are fantastic. Also, we want to talk about today because, man, today, we got a fantastic webinar by Laura Marriott. And, man, if you haven't checked out Laura Marriott, wow, you need to do yourself an utter favor because Laura is awesome. Did that come out right when I said utter? Because I thought about something else. Anyway, Laura Marriott, fantastic woman of God. Just a great heart, great spirit, very gentle, but man, she can sing. This lady, she could, I mean, you've heard about people singing, they can sing the phone book and sound good. This lady can sing the words off the phone book. That's how good she is. So you don't want to miss it. If you want to learn more about how to maximize your voice, things like breath control, tone, blending, and singing correctly in a natural way, this webinar is for you. It's at 1 p.m. today. Today is April the 26th. You still got time. We put out that link on our newsletter this morning, and we're going to do it one more time. You can also find our feeds out on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We got things posted there too. And if that's not easy enough, then please just go to this website right here, worshipteamtraining.com/events, and you will find today's event for Laura Marriott. You can't miss it. So again, it's at 1 p.m. today. Laura's going to go through all the good stuff. You can't miss it. So workshops, I talked about that. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. Don't rehearse mistakes. What do we mean by don't rehearse mistakes? You guys have like mistakes that happen in your worship team? Let me just ask you, just throw it out there. What happens in your team? How do you handle the mistakes in a rehearsal or in Sunday? Or maybe I'll just ask the big $64 million question. What's been one of the largest mistakes that's happened to you in leading your team or leading worship? That could have been at a service. It could have been at a rehearsal. So let us know now. Go ahead and comment. Let us know your thought. Your ideas are important. You never know who you may be ministering to, and you never know who you may be helping just by saying 1, 2 little words. So We invite you to take this time throughout the broadcast, type in your thoughts and ideas, let us know. So just throwing this out to you, Periscope, Facebook Live, YouTube, you can always leave a comment there at the bottom if you're watching this on the replay. What are some of the largest mistakes that you've seen or that have happened to you in a time of worship? Execution, Sean says. That can go both ways, Sean. Normally vocal parts, Scott says. Yes, Scott says that on Periscope. Vocal parts like what? Let me just take a stab in the dark. Forgetting words, would that be one? Maybe singing the wrong word, right? That could be another one. I'll let you know one of my mishaps this past Sunday, actually. Yes, it's true, and it happens. I started in the wrong key. I had the capo on, and I was supposed to be playing in key of C, and I started out in D. Happens. All right, so more people on Periscope saying people creating mystery harmony parts. Yes. Skipping a section altogether. Yes, absolutely. For me, I skipped a section. And so what did I do? Instead of me trying to play out, I just dropped out is what I did. I realized very quickly, Mona right here on Facebook Live says I'd be singing in a different key from the musicians. Yeah, that came close to happening to me this past Sunday. And so what did I do? I realized very quickly before I started playing, I had that eerie, whenever you get that eerie feeling that things aren't right, that happened to me. I had that eerie feeling of, wow, something's not coming together here. And right when I played the first note, I couldn't hear it. And the reason why I couldn't really hear it is because I was playing softly. And as I plucked a little louder, I realized it was the wrong key. And before anyone knew it, I think the drummer knew it because I looked back at him and my cue and my bass player, and they just kind of nodded their heads and smiled, and they were very gracious for that. So thank you, Justin and Io, for making that adjustment. And all I did was I just stopped playing. There was enough instrumentation to take on that load. We already had other musicians cranking the music, so all I had to do was step back, I took the capo off, and realize I need to be playing the key of C. So the biggest thing is, that's what we're talking about today, is not to rehearse those mistakes or keep going in those mistakes. Whenever you find yourself in that moment where you feel like, hey, something's not quite right, even if it is in a worship service, the best thing to do is either, if you're able to continue, like let's say if you are playing in the right key, then you just hold off and wait, or you continue that passage. But like in my position, I had to just briefly pause, take the capo off, not a big deal, didn't make a reaction, and just went right back into the music. Here's the deal. If you make it a deal, it will become a deal to everybody else. If you make a reaction, like singers, guitar players, I see this a lot, that, all the faces that we make and everything, and all that does is just signal to the congregation that there was a mistake. Reality is that no one really notices unless if you make an incredibly bad sound, right? But more importantly, where we desire our churches to be in worship is that exactly, for them to be in worship. And if we're supporting them, we're helping them, that's what matters, and that's why we need to support and create music that is good for them to follow. So honestly, when people are singing, they're not going to notice that that extra note that you tried to put into the guitar part, or maybe you forgot the one low tom that you wanted to hit on the drum, or maybe that little extra harmony part that you wanted to sing. They're really not paying attention to those things. They don't see it. I don't think you're going to have 20 people coming back after the service going, you played that F sharp major 7 the wrong way. I don't think that's going to happen. Now, if you played a really bad F sharp major 7 and it just exploded out to the whole band, you may have somebody come back saying, yeah, that kind of hurt a little bit, but normally, hey, people are there to worship. It's like what I was saying yesterday, that people come to your worship spaces to be led in worship. They don't come to hear your individual part. And that's what I meant yesterday when I made that statement, is that they're not there to make sure that you got to play that drum fill just exactly right. Now I know as musicians, we want to get everything down packed. We want things to be excellent, absolutely. But when we find ourselves going through all the mechanics and not the spirit, then what would you rather have? Great worship or great music? In my mind, if we're making great music, it should be a byproduct of our worship. It should also be a work and preparation on our part during the week to make the music great. So let's jump into that, shall we? Because mistakes will happen. And it's learning what to do with those mistakes when they come around. It's not about no, we shouldn't have mistakes. No, we should not ever hit wrong notes. That stuff's going to happen. Sean from Periscope says, amen. They will come in with their own baggage to deal with during worship. Yeah. The one thing about the church and church worship is that we have lots of people that come in with all of our imperfections. And this is why we're called the church. So instead of us getting down about things, it's more about, well, how can we uplift things? How can we hold one another up? Even your team, even your band. I met with our pianist this morning to go over some parts for us in worship this coming Sunday. And if you're following us on Snapchat, you already saw a few clips that I did. And basically, I was just kind of introducing the understanding of, playing parts and just playing in certain registers instead of doing everything as a pianist, but to just cover and play at appropriate times and when not to play at appropriate times, because all that stuff makes a huge difference. And when you find that some of the mistakes, like maybe you forgot one section of the moment of the music or one note or one chord, the reality is that section is going to come right back around again. So there's not really a point in which you need to stammer over your music or words. It's more about being relaxed, being in control, and letting God drive the car. I mean, look, if we do our work as a worship team and as worship leaders, meaning that we practice, we prepare our music, we organize. I mean, look, I know all of us run lack of time, but honestly, it's no longer an excuse because all of us are busy. We're all busy at what we do. It's the need that we have to, I believe, have God cultivate within us and pray. God, help me to cultivate time. Help me to create time in what I don't have. Maybe it's letting go of some other things to help that part. Brock here on Facebook Live. Thanks, Brock, for commenting. And Brock was also coming to the webinar too. Brock says this from Facebook Live. I'm just reading this out for YouTube and Periscope. Brock says, I skipped the part in Good Good Father and learned that the second part of the bridge can be replaced with the chorus. Absolutely. Great word. The love so undeniable. Yeah, just started singing You're a Good Good Father. That's awesome. And he's got more to say. And with practice and prep, even loving the song I messed up. Yeah, that's a great word, Brock. I mean, the song come back around. I found myself in that position as well. We were doing the song Again I Say Rejoice by Israel Houghton. And I didn't like the singers, the ladies, man, they are strong singers, just awesome. And they just came right in with the lyric. And the way it works at our church is that I'm not the only worship leader. We have several worship leaders. And so when I was playing guitar, all I had to do was just back up just a bit. And the ladies, man, they just took charge. It was like God was leading them to sing, and they just did it. And it was at the right place. It was at the right time. There was really nothing I had to do except to join in. And I think that's a lot of give and take in a worship team, isn't it? I mean, we got to have a blueprint. We need to have a map of where we're going. It is very important for all of us to understand who's coming in on the entrances and the exits. But for my sake, if I'm giving liberty to the singers, in which I did that morning, and I said to them, hey, do you feel like you want to take that verse? Then do that. And that's exactly what they did. Here's one comment by Moana Lupe. Thank you, Moana. She said, here's another one. So here we go. You know it's going to be good when somebody says, here's another one. She says, our musicians may be playing one song and us singers are guessing the song that's playing, which sometimes would be the incorrect song. Yeah. So how do you get around that? I mean, I think a lot of what that is being familiar with the music. Um, I mean, I laugh. We all laugh at that. We all have done that. We're kind of guessing. All right, what are they playing? I mean, singers, watch out because us too as singers, it's more like, okay, what are they saying? What song are they? What word did they just mumble? And we all do that. But I really believe, like, in the time of worship, I mean, that's why we practice, we prepare well. So when we do lead worship, um, when mistakes happen, when mishaps occur, we're better able to roll with those punches. When you don't have a foundation, then you're really tossing yourself out into the sea of oblivion with no anchor. I know that was a lot. That was deep. But what I'm getting at is that when we practice well and we get things down, I mean, even me as a worship leader, I can easily say, yeah, I got this, but if I don't make it a priority, it's not going to be a priority for my team to practice. So Adadio says on Periscope, first make sure you're present in rehearsal, second run through the worship set the way you're going to do it. Absolutely. Audio, thank you so much. Audio, did I say that correctly? I hope so. Thank you for that comment. We have to be present. Like my pianist, she said that this morning, hey, you know what, on Planning Center, I need to make sure which version of chart that you wanted. And she said, she asked me, Brandon, what chart did you want? Because on Planning Center, you can have one song and then a myriad of different variations of that same song in different charts. And so that was my mistake. It was like, well, okay, you're right. I need to do a better job at that. So I need to fill in what I need to do to make the right cues to say, yes, pull this version of music. This is, okay, and that's why it's important. Leon from Periscope says, you should do a Planning Center tutorial. Okay, Kelly is our content media manager. Kelly, we went through this yesterday. We've had a lot of people already ask us to do this very thing, a Planning Center tutorial. We will do that, okay? I'm going to contact Chris Denning, and we're actually doing that now. I think Kelly's doing that. Chris is like the Planning Center guru, so I want to post something that Chris wrote. He did an awesome job. Naomi, how are you? Wow, this is so great. How are you today? We have a lot of people coming in right now on the scope. So when you're seeing me saying hi to different people, that's what's happening because people are coming in live on the broadcast. Anyway, we will do a Planning Center tutorial because there's a lot of you that have questions. I mean, some of you guys are masters. I can think of many people right now, those that are just joining us. I don't want to say their names because they probably would be blushing as I'm saying it right now. You know who you are. But you Planning Center masters, you got it down. But there's a lot of the rest of us that may need a few tips and tricks. So we got something special for you. We're going to have Chris Denning hopefully come and share a post. And then I'll do a live broadcast on his article and take you through Planning Center that can help you as you are a musician, singer, most of all worship leader. Because I know, look, not everybody has time to look at all Planning Center and become that master, but there are some things that you can do to make it work for you. Let's move on, shall we? Here's some things that reminded me about the rehearsing, don't rehearse mistakes. The reason why I say that is because if we don't take care and don't take action when things come along musically, and if we hear a guitar that drops out, if there is a bad chord, if there is a misword that happens, and if we keep rehearsing and we're thinking, oh, well, it'll get better, or I'm not sure how to correct that, but hopefully we'll get it right. Well, we're all putting ourselves in that detriment because the more and more that we rehearse it, well, the more and more we're simply rehearsing those mistakes. And that's what we're getting at this morning. So I remember this. Do you remember this from school, from elementary, or maybe you still do this in your job? Fire drills, right? The famous stop, drop, and roll. Well, here's what I have to say about this. I don't know if it means anything to you, but I'm just sharing from the heart today. So I'm hoping that today's broadcast will give you a little bit more tips of what to do. Stop. That's our first point. If the guitar is totally horribly out of tune, stop and fix it. If it is a wrong verse, don't continue with the song. Stop and address it. Many of you that I've worked with that are watching right now, I've gone to your churches and I've done workshops, or I have led worship at your church. Those of you that are watching, I've been on staff at your church. Those of you who are watching, I've done mentoring with you. And you know that I am that firm believer to say, no, let's stop the music. Let's fix this line, because we don't want that to cause an issue with everybody else. Sean on Periscope says, if you're practicing and you hear a mistake, a good point. Stop and fix it so you're not repeating it. Great word. I mean, if you're practicing at home, and I know for guitar players, especially acoustic players, maybe, barring chords can be an issue because, you know, flattening that finger and getting all the intonation right and not having all those strings squeal and, you know, make pesky noises, that can be a challenge. But, you know, if you neglect playing that B minor chord without really fixing it, it's going to show up in your playing later on. If you are a soprano or an alto and you know that one note in your break is causing you to lose it in that melody and you can't reach that higher note or you can't reach that lower note, but you skip it and you think, well, I'll just move on. Well, the problem is that it's going to move on to you the next time that you do music with your team. So it's always better, and I know it's hard, but there's nothing like taking that extra moment in your own practice time. And that's why we practice. So we make less of these mishaps actually at rehearsal. And so it's not about just rehearsing the mistakes at rehearsal, but also back at home. So Sean, that's a great point. Thank you for that. Let's move on. When I say stop, that's the first point. Did the drummer start playing in 3/4 rather than 4/4? Okay. You know, that has happened before. When that occurs, do you stop the team or do you just try to keep on chugging away hoping that it gets better when you know and everybody else knows it's not getting better? Okay, so stop the music there. Are the singers singing at a different song than the band is playing? I mean, we just addressed that earlier. So all too often, this wreaks havoc on our minds. So it's always better to stop and take action, fix the problem, and move on. Your team will thank you, and also your church, especially when you lead them in worship. So I remember when I started leading worship, my keyboard was accidentally transposed. And I didn't realize it right away, but unfortunately, I was hoping the singer could get it right, but the singer could not find the notes because I was transposed in a different key. So my failure back then is that I kept on going. And the problem with that is that I pushed that singer for her to sing in such a higher key. It just turned out to be a train wreck. And so I remember that. I will never forget to always, always, always make sure that I stop and fix it when I'm in practice, when I'm in rehearsal. Or like the example I just gave earlier, when you're leading worship and maybe you're leading by guitar and you accidentally put that capo on or you accidentally start in the wrong key, just pull back, don't make it a big deal, get it right, fix it, go back with the flow. It's always easier that way. So take those moments. When I say drop is meaning the bad habits. So drop the bad habits. So now we're talking about don't just go with the flow of, well, I'll correct it as I go, or dropping the bad habits of thinking that other people will get it right for you, or maybe that's a chord that you don't have to work on as hard, or a word or a song that maybe you're thinking, well, other people can get this, I don't have to rely so much. No, we need to drop those bad habits. We need to realize that we are a team, and we need to realize that we are interdependent of one another. We are individual parts like the members of a body, but we still come together as the body. So drop the old habits. Drop also the blame of, well, so-and-so got it wrong, or it was the drummer's fault, or it was the singer's fault. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. What matters is, are we taking the objective to fix what's necessary so that we're helping people in worship? That's what it's all about. If we can better do that, then we've already led worship. We've already done 50% of our job right there by helping others. So move on with number 3. Roll. So we have stop, drop, and now we're on roll. So roll, what I mean is that roll through rehearsal from start to bottom. Make sure that as you correct the mistakes in your rehearsal, that you also go back and start all the way from the top to the very bottom of the order, covering all the songs that you need to do. Like our rehearsals, they last no longer than like an hour, 15, 20 minutes. And what we do is we always tackle the hardest songs first, leave the easy songs for the very end. Spend about maybe 3-5 minutes per song, fix the trouble spots first, work out all those intricacies between chords, lyrics, whatever they may be. Then we'll cover the transitions, how to get from one song to the other. And if we feel like, yeah, we need to spend 2 more minutes on the drum transition or the bass guitar, whatever, we'll do that. And then at the very end, we run everything from top to bottom, and we just roll with the flow. So that's the third thing, is what I'm saying here, is roll with it. I mean, when you have mistakes that occur, it's always easier to not fight that tide. And like the example that I gave earlier, when you're missing a chord, you're missing a note, missing a lyric, it's always easier just to, subtly pull out and just come right back in with the whole phrasing of the music, because those sections will come right back around. And again, rolling with those punches, meaning that when you rehearse, when you well prepare, then it's going to be less of a shock to you when things do occur. For instance, this past Sunday, our drummer was a little bit slow on tempo. He was about maybe 10 beats per minute slower than where I wanted to take the song. And that was okay. I mean, there comes a point where you have to decide what's more important in the moment of worship. And if the whole band is gelling already to that tempo, and maybe I said, well, we're going to do this at 1:30, but maybe he started out at 1:20 or 1:15, whatever. If the whole band is already at that gel, I don't want to break it. Then if I'm going to do something, if I can subtly encourage him to pick up the tempo and he can get me and we can do it together, then great, we can roll through that together. But don't ever, ever, ever stop the music, especially in worship. I've seen a lot of worship teams do that, and you may be thinking to yourself, we don't do that, or I've never heard of people doing that, but there are worship teams I've seen that have done that. They will stop the music, or they'll even say to the congregation, hey, we need to re-sing that, or hey, can't you guys sing out more, or hey, guys, sorry, we need to restart. We don't want to do those things. We want to roll with it, meaning that we want to keep the flow in worship. For instance, the drummer, maybe he did start 10 beats per minute behind. That's okay. I actually went with his tempo, and it turned out that the song actually still had the same groove, and it felt a little better. I didn't have to fight it. You want to pick your battles at that time, but breaking the flow of worship and just stopping altogether is a huge disconnect for the church. And so we don't want to serve them that way. We want to serve them well. We want to make sure that we do all things full. And also, as well, never point out publicly people in your team. Like, for instance, the drummer. I would never turn around and say, hey, you were slower on this song, or hey, you missed that beat. Don't ever do that. I mean, the reason? Well, we're to build up one another. And the whole idea is that if we can be professional and we can be mature in our relationships, then, people get it. I mean, it's one thing to do that, but it's another thing to come alongside them later on to say, hey, you know what? Next time when we do that song, watch your tempo. We're trying to take it up at 1:30. Is that okay with you? Or ask the question, hey, was the 1:30 not working for you? I mean, did it sound better for you in 1:20, and maybe that's the reason why you took that? And he may say, yeah, actually, he may say, yeah, I actually forgot about that, and I just went with it. And he's like, hey, sorry, my bad. It's always better to have those conversations one-to-one instead of publicly, because we don't want to bring down the team. We don't want to speak negatively. We always want to empower people and build them up. So what I do with my team, I just simply say, hey guys, remember, we're going to take this at 1:30, and we're going to have this, we're going to have that. Make sure that we're staying all in the frame and the same structure, and that everybody gets it. And I also ask questions to the team like, hey, is everybody clear of today's order or in rehearsal? Is everybody good with the song? Are there any questions? Always ask questions to your team. I'm always asking my singers, hey, how is this key for you females? Is it too high? Right? Come on, guys. How are the words of the song? Are we singing the syllables too fast? Can we get it better cleaned from one singer to the next? Can we create a better blend? I mean, if you don't ask those questions, or, hey, are you good with the lyrics? I mean, how is the memory on some of these words? You'll never know if you don't ever ask. So always make that motion to be with your team. Again, we've done a lot of studies last week in these broadcasts on Nehemiah, Moses, and Joshua, and you can find all those recaps back at worshipteamtraining.com on our blog post. We got over 500 articles and we got about over 250 videos, but you'll see that I talked a lot about how Moses was always with the people. And here's the thing, you can't please everybody all the time. That's just impossible. It's impossible to please also just one or two people out of a whole entire group. But our job as worship team members and leaders is to do the work of God and to serve the wholeness of the team and church as best as possible. So it's knowing your team, it's being with them, it's asking questions. It's like, hey, what can we do better as a collaborative effort as a team? All right, so Sean on Periscope says, can I take this a little deeper? Yeah, sure. So he goes on to ask, don't keep rehearsing your life mistakes either. All right, so he's going deep. That definitely is deep. So life mistakes, let's talk a little bit about that. A life mistake could be maybe you show up to rehearsal or leading worship and you're just not having a great day, okay? Now this can be also don't rehearse mistakes. I'm sorry, I don't know what screen that was just now, but that was a mistake itself, and now we're just moving on. But anyway, good example there of just kind of rolling with those punches. And so Sean asked this important question, what if it is deeper in those mistakes and the way that we live life? That is huge. Sean, thanks for asking that. I mean, like I said, if you show up maybe, and let's just say you're just not having a good day. I mean, it's like, maybe your coffee was terrible, or you don't drink coffee. Maybe it could have been tea or juice, whatever. Somebody cut you off in traffic. You missed your music. You misplaced it or something. Or maybe your guitar string popped, or you had to replace a drum head, or any of those things. I mean, yeah, that could be a bad day for anybody. The sound's not working. You're an audio engineer, and you come in, and you find out that one of the channels failed, or a microphone went down. That's huge. Okay. So how do we handle, that's why I say stop, drop, and roll. I mean, we roll, we stop what we're doing, take a pause, don't rehearse that mistake. Drop the bad habit of blame, drop the bad habit of the attitude, don't wear it on your sleeve, and then roll with the punches. I mean, look, things are going to happen in the church. It's not a question of if things will go wrong, it's more of a when things will go wrong. And when they do, are you able to handle them? Are you able to pull yourself out of it and say, you know what, this is not what I preferred, but we're going to fix this together as a team. I have to say that to myself often because there's always things going on that, yeah, things could be done better. There could be things being done better. There can be different ways that you can improve. And we are called by God to make those improvements. But before you make those improvements, you're going to encounter the challenge. So how do you deal with the challenge? Do you clam up? Do you get angry? Do you just want to take all your toys and go home? Do you want to physically be seen as having a negative issue or say something that may cause harm to some others? It's always better, again, just to take a step back, and just realize, look, this is church, I mean, we're not performing for the Grammys, this is worship. We're not here to show off our talents to man. We're here to serve God and to lead others in worship. So yeah, we want to get things done right. We want to do things well. But how can we do this effectively, positively, and consistently and conducively with the team? Instead of setting ourselves apart and rehearsing the same bad behaviors or mistakes or whatever they may be, instead of rehearsing those things over and over and over again, how can we free ourselves and to learn the good things out of it and learn how to handle and roll with the punches? Again, I think about Nehemiah. Nehemiah was tasked at making the Great Wall, right? Of making the wall for Israel. And he had his challenges along the way. The dude had to build this wall while he was being attacked at the same time. And he had to put guards up at night and families up at night to take watch throughout the whole 24 hours to make sure that as they put up one brick and another, they weren't going to get stabbed or arrowed or whatever. You talk about, working under pressure, that's it. But the great thing about Nehemiah is that in his faith, he pulled through. And that, my friends, right there is rolling with the punches. That's what makes us better at our leadership, is learning how to go through the fire. Because look, Jesus is the one that's refining our faith constantly. And if we don't have challenges, how can our faith grow? And if we don't have faith that grows, however then can it be refined? And also, how can we share that out with our teams and most importantly, our churches and our great God that we serve? So, hey, that's today's broadcast. You know what? We're wrapping up like right now as I'm going to go through the announcements for today. If you got a final thought, question, hey, maybe do you have an idea or topic that you want to share that you'd like for us to cover? A lot of what we do here every day comes from you. So like you talked about, you want to see a Planning Center online tutorial, you want to see vocal stuff, we got that coming your way. So hit us up, even send us a comment, leave something on one of our blog posts, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, let us know what's going on, tweet us, and let us know how we can help. And you never know, we may choose your topic and address it and say, yeah, Alex said this in Canada, or George said this in South Carolina, or someone in Germany said this about their worship team, and how can we address this together? Let those comments go, man, and let it flow to us so that we can help you guys in every way. One question here from Periscope: what keys should songs be in so it's good for the congregation? That, my friends, is a large question, because if you're asking about if there's a general magic key, I don't know of one. But what I will say is that from the vocal standpoint, anywhere between middle C to middle D and that octave C or that octave D above is a very good range for your church. And it keeps songs singable. When we sing outside that range, most people in church are not singers, they're volunteers, so they may have a tough time singing a high E or F. If it's every other time, no big deal. And I'm all about songs having energy, and I understand why we may do them in higher keys, but we also just want to be conscious of not exhausting the church so that when they sing, they can keep up. And yeah, it is creative possibility, says this on Periscope. That is very hard for worship leaders to get that. Absolutely, I agree. But it just comes down to you knowing your church and less about doing what you want to do as a worship leader. I have to keep the church in mind. So when I'm planning and picking songs, when we're rehearsing them as a team and like we're fixing mistakes, whatever, I'm trying to keep the church in mind, and I'm trying to hear them as they sing it. That's what helps me. So anyway, great thoughts and comments there. Leonard, thanks for yours as well. So hey, don't miss out today. Later on, we got this coming up. Laura Marriott. Thanks, Jermaine. I really appreciate that. The webinar is today. So that is 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Laura Marriott. Today is the 26th. Free webinar. So you can't miss it. Laura Marriott. All you need to do is, again, go to worshipteamtraining.com/events and click on that link. Register. I'll get out the email notices to you. They will go out later today. And all of you guys will be invited. If you've already registered for a past webinar, then you're automatically in. So, so far we have about over 300 people signed up for this webinar. So we hope that you can join us as well. It's gonna be a lot of fun. And if you sign up, you'll get more goodies as well and some more special freebie things too. So anyway, hey, thanks so much for joining us today here on the Worship Team Training Morning Show. I'm Branon Dempsey with worshipteamtraining.com. Thanks so much for coming out. You guys are incredible. Come back tomorrow. Tomorrow we're going to be talking more. We got a worship devotional that you don't want to miss. And then Thursday, we got some more vocal stuff to cover. So coming up, be sure to hang with us. Also, make sure that you're following us here on Snapchat and download at your store, and then add us, Worship TT. Be sure to also follow us at Worship TT on Twitter. So again, Snapchat and Twitter. All right. So anyway, thanks so much for being with us today. You guys are gold. Love you guys. Love all of our friends. Thanks so much for coming in. And we'll see you back tomorrow on the Worship Team Training Show. Have a fantastic day. And may God bless you always, you and your worship team. Love you. Bye.